Are AAA games in trouble in this day and age? Indie games have been popping up everywhere, and it seems like a lot of indie games have been doing a lot better than their AAA counterparts. But why is this the case? And how is this happening? Today's episode of the Let's Talk Indie Yuki podcast, we talk about, are indie games actually about to kill off the AAA industry? And we're going to be taking a look at a video by Player 2, and I'm going to be doing my own analysis. First, let's talk about my observations. And yes, we are going to be taking a look at the notepad today. For my observations, let's take a look at what I have recently observed in the last few months, especially with the last few years, and especially in Call of Duty. I'm using Call of Duty as a special example because has been the game that has been garnering a lot of controversy in the last couple of years. So let's have a look. What I have observed. A lot of gamers are starting to play less AAA, especially in recent times, or leaving AAA. An example can be found with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and I'm not talking about the specific seasons. I'm talking about everything. As the game has lost over 50% of the player base, actually that number is higher now, 80. 80% of the player base since Season 3 of the game launched earlier this month. For example, in COD, how is this happening? The poor communication of Activision and the poor feedback response has contributed to the loss of players. Another thing that can be pointed to is the game still has bugs and glitches that have not been fixed since Season 1 back in October of 2022 when the game first launched. And even if the game was fixed, new bugs would still come up. For example, at one point in Season 3, there was no kill cam feature for 1 week at one point. And another egregious thing that they have been doing in the recent months has been so-called new features. The solutions were to add so-called new features and put them behind a paywall, including new skins and pay-to-win mechanics, like we have been seeing for DMZ. These so-called new features are the kill cam, hardcore mode, and ranked play. So back when the game first launched, hardcore mode was called Tier 1. And I'm gonna say Tier 1 because nobody knows what so-called Tier 1 means. All they know is hardcore mode, and that's why a lot of people got pissed off. And ranked play. Ranked play, actually, I'm going to give a pass for because that was going to be later anyway. However, the kill cam, don't take away our precious kill cam. Okay? That's what a lot of people were pissed off about because they want to know what their mistakes were, especially when it comes to ranked play. A lot of people want to play ranked play because of the sweatiness. Now, we will now be taking a look at a video by Player 2, that's his name, in terms of YouTube, of how indie games killed the AAA industry. We're gonna go over the Cliff Notes version. But I want you to be very careful that this is a very important topic when it comes to the indie game market. We're gonna take a look at this video. I'll be providing my commentary as well.
Field and Halo combined. It feels like everywhere that I look today. Last of Us Part 1 on PC, Jedi Survivor.
We have an issue here. Will there be a poncho in the game? I told you we weren't going to talk about this.
And now Redfall. But seriously, what the hell is going on? To answer,
There's no way!
reach a higher peak player count.
Exactly. Facts. Oh, there we go.
How does Halo go from this to this?
Notice how Halo went from a big boy game to all of a sudden having only 4,420 people. Now, this was taken most likely a few months ago, the player count, So this 4,420 might be up or down. But look at how it went from 100 something thousand or 100 million back down to 4,420. Interestingly enough.
And how can a game about ducks reach a higher peak play?
Look at that. Goose Goose Duck is a clone of Among Us. Look at where it's at right now. We're gonna be talking about Cyberpunk 2077 in particular later in this video. But Goose Goose Duck, you're talking about a clone of Among Us. Look at where it's at. 701,898 as of this recording. And you're talking about a an indie game to be precise. An indie game is beating out Hogwarts Legacy, Apex Legends, and about to try to beat up Cyberpunk 2077. Apex Legends, Hogwarts Legacy, and Cyberpunk are 3 AAA games. And Goose Goose Duck, an indie game, is trying to beat them up.
Player count
Unreal, right?
Trinity of Call of Duty, Battlefield, and Halo combined. It feels like everywhere that I look today. Last of Us Part 1 on PC, Jedi Survivor.
Oh yeah, Last of Us is another game that is a AAA. Now, they have a movie, and even then, like he said earlier, how is Goose Goose Duck beating up the likes of Battlefield, COD? That's the video game trilogy. Video game Holy Trinity there.
I told you we weren't going to talk about this.
And now Redfall. But seriously, what the
Redfall
hell
is horrible.
To answer these
I'm sorry.
questions, we first need to understand
Based on what I
AAA
played already,
studios have taken all
not
of
good.
their desire to make fun, innovative games and just jazzed it out the window. All the while, indie is noticeably on the
Yep. Look at Among Us, an indie game. $5 to buy. That game, Among Us, top potentially right now, top 20. And that game has been out for 3 years.
rise with exponential growth in unique titles like Project Zomboid and don't
Project
stop there.
Zomboid is another
Even with
one.
the AAA level of visuals and atmosphere like we got
Look at this, Stray, indie game. How is it doing? Oh boy, very good. It might be an indie game. I'm gonna tell you guys. The game looks more good. It looks like a AAA game, and yet it's made by the indie game studio.
with Stray and Unrecord, which has surpassed
Look at this,
anything I've seen
VR.
visually from major
I mean,
development teams
yeah,
on
VR
Unreal
game.
Engine 5.
It looks
So I think
real.
a prime example of how the billion-dollar AAA studios are removing priority of creating innovative and fun games is something that's 20 years old, irresistible to men, and will completely drain your bank account. Can you guess it? It's Call of Duty, you thirsty hobgoblin.
Facts. Yeah, 20 years old. 20 years old as a franchise, Call of Duty. And they've been nickel and diming the players. Look at what they have been doing in the last couple of years. They've been doing the whole, look at what's in your face when you load up the game. What is in your face, especially in Call of Duty nowadays, that a lot of people are pissed off about? Exactly, microtransactions. You want to be like Leo Messi? Buy this. You want to be like Ghost from the original COD MW2? Buy this. You want to have an UAV to start a game? Buy this. No cap. They're gonna put it in your face before you get to see the main menu.
To be horny anymore. I just want to be.
And of course, they have ads. No, I'm joking. I have an ad. But that is the main point about that portion. They threw out the fun, literally, and now they're pleasing their
Originally just
investors.
setting out to beat Medal of Honor at World War II
I'm gonna
games,
skip a little
Infinity
bit.
Ward actually pitched a Modern Warfare. passionate about. Really a surprise they would try to mimic them, but and for creative innovation like
I'm going to
multiplayer
skip a
perks
little
and
bit
kill
because
streaks, which
of
by the way,
time.
did you know that the original plan for kill streaks was just for them to be picked up around the map at random locations instead of being a bonus for getting a kill spree? At the time, they were trying to compete with Halo.
I agree with the competition with Halo back in the day, because Halo and COD were almost at the same time released. Normally, you would see a COD game in November. Speaking of November, there is going to be another one this year. Oh boy. And when it came to Halo, a lot of people would play Halo as well. Remember, Microsoft has Halo, and the other studio for PlayStation has the COD. Now, Xbox has COD, but most of the time when you hear Xbox, you hear Halo, not Call of Duty. But still, both of these games are triple A, and both of these games have a competition against each other when it comes to sales, especially when it was back in the day.
So it's not really a surprise they would try to mimic them, but I'm pretty glad they didn't. Can you imagine if tactical nukes were a spawned-in item? With each game after, the creativity and innovation grew, along with the hype. You really can't beat Midnight Release and Double XP Dorito.
Oh yeah, back in the day, if you wanted to get EXP, you don't need no microtransactions. All you needed was to get a bag of specially marked Doritos. Or WXP and Halo and COD.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Those were the
All
good
of this
days.
would turn the franchise into the global phenomenon that it is today. During the late 2000s and early 2010s, each game felt inspired and fun, giving us memories that we'll never forget, like laying down that killer comeback in the lobbies.
Yeah, I deep throated your mom.
Oh yeah, these were the good days.
That just becomes a cow.
With the boys. Over
Zombies, look at this.
It was the pinnacle of gaming, but somewhere along the way, something changed.
Yeah.
Of course, we could chalk it up.
Look at this. This is COD MW2 right now. This is literally the main menu. Has anybody seen Hulu main menu? Yeah, this is exactly like Hulu's main menu.
Over excessive menus and HUDs, making it feel like we're on Hulu instead of a multiplayer
Exactly.
game.
Facts.
Forceful insertion into our eye holes of microtransactions almost anywhere we look.
I mentioned this earlier. They put in microtransactions first before the main menu. They don't want you to focus on the COD. They want you to focus on the microtransactions and the bundles.
But the catalyst to the imminent downfall of AAA games is more reliant on two things: removing fun as the primary focus of developing their games, and pushing out games in ridiculous states to stay on par with deadlines.
That's facts.
And get that money.
Oh, this is what do you call this game? No, I think there's a new game.
Looking at you, Todd Howard.
I think that's Dead Island.
Works. It's not. I'm not kidding.
Overhyping every game released with big content, unprecedented experiences, graphical masterpieces that upon release are broken, half shells of what were promised. And
yeah, exactly. A lot of content creators, especially the big boys, have been helping to hype up the game. Look at what Call of Duty does for their biggest content creators, like Tim the Tatman and Nick Merck. Tim the Tatman gets a free ride to their event in Activision X, I believe it's called, and he got to play the new game, the Modern Warfare 2, early because of his influence when it comes to Call of Duty. He's a COD partner for a reason, and he also helps in overhyping the game. Like, look at his reaction when the game first started. This is the best COD ever, or this will be the best COD in history. Look at where Call of Duty is now. It's starting to lose players.
basically nothing new. It's honestly pathetic. Billion-dollar companies
Facts.
releasing unfinished, uninspired games, followed by the standard black background with white text, telling us that this isn't the standard that they uphold and fixes are coming bullshit or whatever. Every damn time.
Correct.
It's exhausting seeing $70 price tags on what should be in the value video games bin at your local Walmart. Now, I can't stress
I
enough,
actually
it's not
agree.
the devs. I see so many comments on videos and on Twitter bashing the devs of these games, berating them for making terrible choices and gameplay decisions. But it's not them.
That's actually true. That's actually true. As we discussed in our second episode, in our third episode, the workplace environment for AAA games versus indie games, as we have seen in the past, the AAA game market, yes, they make a lot of high budget games. However, they are strict on deadlines. For example, we've been using COD for a while in this video, and that's because Call of Duty has this 1 year a game cycle. So you have one Call of Duty game come up in 2024. I mean, I'm just using this as an example, but there is one coming up in 2024. There's a game coming out this year in 2023 at the end of November. Then there's another game coming out next year. Then in 2025, there's gonna be another game of Call of Duty. So each year, they're on a very, very, very strict regimen that a Call of Duty game has to come out every year in November, to be particularly precise. And that's why a lot of AAA, a lot of people are leaving, or not leaving, but playing less of the Call of Duty because they believe that it's the devs' fault. But the problem is, it's not. It's the higher ups. The developers have to develop the game. However, it's the higher ups, even higher than the CEO. You have the investors. The investors are the one also controlling this area, because the investors are not looking for the fun of the consumer. They're looking for the money of the consumer, and that's the big difference between AAA and the indie game industry. That's one of the biggest difference.
Really no difference between a AAA dev and an indie game dev. They both probably have similar qualifications, knowledge, and creativity.
Correct.
The difference is who's in charge. With an indie game, it's typically the devs that are making the game. In AAA, there's white-collar execs and boards of out-of-touch non-gamers that are focused not on how to make the best games, but how to make the most money. This
Correct.
is why the devs of these AAA studios
Absolutely
don't have the capacity to put out fresh, unbroken games. The leaders of the company don't put quality of the games first. And this primary focus trickles down to everyone in development. Even if you're the most passionate dev working on one of these major projects, for Bethesda, Infinity Ward, DICE, 343, any reward as an employee only comes when your work is furthering the goal of making more money.
That's actually true, because look at back in the day before microtransactions and all this stuff happened. Look at how many copies of a game will determine your success in the game development industry. Because if the consumer likes the game, they're gonna ask their friends to buy the game. And if their friends like the game, they're gonna ask their friends, and so on. Nowadays, in order to earn money for game development, they have to find a way to go post-development profit. And one of those ways we're about to find out is microtransactions, battle passes, and cosmetics.
But there's a paradox. Wouldn't making a great game make more money?
Yeah.
15 years ago, the answer would have been a resounding yes. If you made a great game back then, and
Look at
had
that midnight release too. I miss these.
AAA marketing,
I don't
budget,
buy a
you'd
game
sell
at midnight,
bunch of
exactly.
copies and get paid for the work that you put out. But
Correct.
over the last few years, these companies have recognized that you can make a lot more money without necessarily making a good game. 3 words that should be all too familiar at this point: live service games.
Yep, live service games. Exactly. The meta right now for game development, ladies and gentlemen, is live service games. For example, like he said, Apex, Sea of Thieves, and Fortnite are 3 examples of LSGs, live service games. The reason why is because number one, you have that market that that the microtransaction market. Number two, they have to be online to play. Most of these are three games they have to be online actively to play.
Every year, an increasing number of AAA
And
teams
battle
are
passes
launching
too.
live service games with battle passes, sick cosmetics, and catchy dance emotes.
Yeah, actually, this dance is actually pretty cool.
Why? Because they make a lot of money after they launch. Today, in the growing gaming market, you don't just make money when people purchase your game, and in
Correct.
fact, that's not even where most of your revenue comes from anymore. You're now able to monetize throughout the entire lifespan of the game.
Correct. And the entire lifespan of the game will be determined by how many people play the game. And not only play the game, but purchase the insanely amount of microtransactions like cosmetics, and in the case of Call of Duty, pay to win DMZ. But remember what the main point is. The main point is for live service games is for the player base to keep playing and not let it die, by the way. And the lifetime of the game will be determined by the players, the money earned, the money spent, and other factors.
Additionally, it doesn't help that a majority of the live service games that are releasing these days are only doing so because the executives and leadership of these companies are forcing the devs to push out their unfinished and uninspired work.
That's facts. Look at how rushed Call of Duty looks like. There was a lot of features missing when the game first launched in October 2022. There was no hardcore mode. There was no ranked mode, although I believe ranked mode was going to be planned anyway. And there was a missing features. Look at Battlefield 2042. It was also rushed, and they didn't have the most basic feature, the scoreboard. Look at where they are now. Battlefield 2042 and Cyberpunk 2077 are two exceptions to this rule where the game has died, because the game has been getting updates. But Call of Duty has only been receiving updates in two particular sections. The War Zone and the DMZ. They have no care for the multiplayer. Zero. Especially nowadays.
Most of these games to just end up in the content graveyard in the depths of the abyss along with Anthem.
Rest in peace Anthem, rest in peace Multiverses.
Every now and then we
because Multiverses also is in there.
Elden Ring, Ghost of Tsushima, or Hogwarts Legacy that defies expectations.
Actually, that's the Hogwarts Legacy.
But for
My
every
content creator
major
friends
AAA
play.
release,
It's pretty good.
a plethora of great indie games are being dropped. How does a game like Stray have such incredible atmosphere?
Look at this. This is Stray, a game that is made by an indie studio. Look at how immersive this environment looks. And by the way, you're talking about an indie studio, not a AAA. This looks incredible. I want to play this game now.
Visuals and unique examination of humanity.
Look at the level of detail. Are you gonna get the level of detail in a AAA game? Not with CEOs breathing down your neck. Nah.
In 7 hours, in ways that very few AAA games may.
Oh, that's a cute cat though.
Given you're a cat surrounded by robots, or while the numbers of Halo
Project Zomboid.
drop, Project Zomboid, a top-down, low-pixel zombie survival game.
Look at this. Look at this. This game, Project Zomboid, came out in 2023. 2013. The player base has been up and down because sometimes there's no new updates and all that. But look at the numbers compared to COD.
2013 continues to grow.
Look at that, August 2022, 22,000.
Oh, it's
But remember,
It's
this
not
is
because
constant.
These indie devs are more talented. It's because they kept the primary focus.
That's right. That's another big factor. The Call of Duty and Project Zomboid are two different games, obviously. One of them is an indie game, one of them is AAA. But the main point is, COD has not been doing the same formula. Because in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the new one, for example, I set up called Modern Warfare DOS. Because look at what they're trying to do. They're trying to be a battle royale. They're trying to be a multiplayer game. They're trying to be an extraction shooter. Look at Project Zomboid. Project Zomboid has one thing and one thing in mind: zombies. What does Call of Duty want? Call of Duty has lost its identity because it's been going into these new genre, like the extraction shooter with DMZ. They're trying to get into battle royale with the be about BR, and I'm gonna count Resurgence as well. And then they're gonna try to be a multiplayer game at the same time. And then if you want to count treasure hunting in quotation marks or money hunting, Plunder is one of those. So Call of Duty is trying to be 4 games in one. Project Zomboid is 1 game in one. The zombies.
Following the fun, reminiscent of the games we enjoyed all those years ago, before everyone was a sweat lord trying to be a famous streamer, when games only made money depending on how many copies they sold, and not on overly pushed microtransactions cluttering up the menus. I've seen so many unique indie games, 10 times more fun,
Look at
more
this.
content than most of
Look at this game. That looks fun.
these AAA releases, just with much lesser awareness, a significantly lower marketing budget, and the PC barrier. With the Cycle Frontier,
There is one limiting factor, however, when it comes to indie games, and he's going to talk about this more in a moment. And I think you can see where it's going.
Marauders, Don't Starve to
And
Get
I'm going
Hold
to
of
get
the
my
Land, and
insights.
the list goes on. Now, here we are with Redfall, hitting a pathetic 58% on Metacritic. As one of the most
That is bad. 58% on Metacritic. Very, very bad. And not surprised. I tried the demo of this game, or I actually got the Game Pass, and oh boy, it was nasty with a capital N. Because I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm gonna try to review it anyway. All I'm gonna say is just play an indie game
anticipated
instead of
AAA
this
games
mess.
2023. It just shouldn't have been pushed out. Besides the bugs,
Exactly
AI is
right.
absolutely atrocious, with empty, content-lacking environments.
He's right.
Followed by
That's
one of those
facts.
apologetic social media posts.
Look at this. This was in Project Red for Cyberpunk. They apologized for their mistake, and actually, they deliver on their promise to make it better. Look at where it's now.
That we've seen time and time again. But every time we get overhyped by the massive marketing campaigns and buy them.
Yep,
every
that's me.
single time. But how much longer can this go on? At its current pace, the AAA bubble will eventually burst. As for 23, all eyes are now on Starfield. The gameplay showcases and trailers look incredible.
This game looks incredible though. But the question is, what is this? A lot of things are going to lead into this game. And a lot of things are being monitored for this game. Do you think Starfield, in the comment section, do you think Starfield will deliver on their promise? In my personal opinion, I know I have not seen this game much, and I don't plan to play this particular game. But based on what I see, it looks very incredible. But the problem is, it's not about how incredible the environment is, how the graphics are. It's more of, can you deliver on the promise that you promised the players, the consumers in this case? Can you deliver on that? If the answer is no, if the answer is yes, then it's going to be a good game to play in 2023. But if the answer is no, then you have another story for why AAA games have been failing.
As an open world fanatic at heart, I'm truly hoping that Starfield doesn't suffer the same fate and follows
Me
suit
too.
with the current president of the
Because it looks
market.
cool.
Because the stage is set. A few more years of major flops and the disappointment of gamers on a massive scale
Actually looks
will lead
pretty
to a
cool.
paradigm shift in the industry. And indie games are expediting that process. The only way that I could see it accelerating further is if indie games took console seriously. While there are many cross-platform indie titles, many more reserved only for PC owners.
He's actually correct. A lot of indie games are pretty damn good. Except for one thing. They're very good on everything. Except for one very limiting factor. And that is most of the games you see me play for indie game wise have been on PC only. they have not been able to go on console. Some of them are like Stardew Valley, where they have it on Nintendo Switch. However, 95% of the indie games you see me play on this channel, or 95% of the games you see on indie games, have been only on PC. If they are they are pretty damn good, but they are limited by that one factor, and that is console. They have not been able to go to console. If they go to console, then the argument of indie games killing off AAA industry is actually even more stronger.
Leaving a huge market untapped in the indie sector. Most of the games that I've played over the last year or so, I've only been able to do so because I've been on PC. And I can point to several of them that would have had a much higher player count right now if they existed simultaneously on console. Now, I'm by no means a developer, so I'm not sure of what all goes into porting a game to console, but it's clear that there is a huge AAA-shaped hole in the console community,
I agree,
waiting to be filled by fresh and innovative games. We are reaching what looks to be the golden age of the indie developer, because these small dev teams have something that the billion-dollar corporations do not: the right culture and a desire to follow the fun, just as I do on this channel.
That's correct.
I truly value your attention. I can't.
Alright, that's it for that video. So, I have the clip. If you guys want the show notes, I'll be linking them in the description of our podcast video. But moral of the story, indie games are starting to get more popular nowadays, especially with what's going on in the market. So if you guys enjoyed what you learned today, hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button, and we'll be getting ready for our next episode where we'll be talking about the bad side of indie games. We'll be taking a look at an example with with Mighty Number 9 and how their Kickstarter succeeded, but they never delivered correctly. So hit that like, hit that share. We'll see you guys on the next one, and don't forget to live on the indie side of gaming.